Tonight, you will climb into a warm bed. You will pull a blanket over your body without a single thought. It will feel like nothing, like the most ordinary act in the world, but that blanket is doing something your body could never do on its own. Because right now, without it, you are almost defenseless. You think you are an animal that belongs outside. You go camping. You feel the pull of the forest, the fire, the open sky, and something ancient in you says, "This is home." But the real answer is far stranger. You are not built for the outside anymore. You are one of the least weatherproof large animals on the planet, and you have been for a very long time. Take off your clothes. Stand in a quiet field on a cool spring night. No wind, air at 50 degrees. To you, that feels mild. A deer would sleep in it. A wolf would not even notice. But your body has already started to panic. Within minutes, your skin tightens. Your fingers go pale. Your core begins the slow, invisible work of defending a single number. And if that number falls too far, you die. Not in a blizzard, in a field, in spring. So here's the question that should bother you more than it does. Could you actually survive out there, naked, the way every other animal does every night of its life? And if the honest answer is no, then what happened to you? What did you trade away, and when? And why has nobody ever told you that you are walking around in a body that quietly gave up on the wild a long time ago? Let's start with the number your body is willing to kill you to protect. Deep inside your chest, your body holds a temperature of about 37 degrees Celsius, 98.6 in the older language. It is a hard operating range. Your enzymes, the tiny machines that run every cell you own, only work inside a narrow band around it. Push your core just a few degrees below 37, and those machines start to slow. Push it far enough, and they stop. There is no willpower that fixes this. There is no toughness. Your biochemistry simply quits. Now here's the part that feels unfair. Your body is a furnace that never turns off. Even sitting still, you are producing heat. Roughly the same as a dim light bulb. All day, all night. You would think that would be enough. It is not. Because you are also leaking that heat constantly, out through your bare skin, into the air around you. And the moment the leak is faster than the furnace, your core temperature starts to fall. Scientists have a name for the exact conditions where you can hold that line while naked and doing nothing. They call it the thermoneutral zone. For a bare human body, that comfortable zone sits somewhere between about 28 and 32 degrees Celsius. Read that again. Your body is only truly at ease, naked, when the air is nearly blood warm, around 30 degrees. That is the tropics at midday. That is not a spring field, and it is certainly not a forest at night. So what happens the moment the air drops below that zone? Your body reaches for its first emergency tool, and it is a tool that quietly makes you look like a corpse. The first thing your body does is close the borders. Your blood is warm. Your blood is where your heat lives. And your skin, that huge thin surface wrapped around you, is where that heat escapes. So your body makes a cold decision, in every sense. It clamps down the tiny blood vessels near your skin. Doctors call it vasoconstriction. You would call it going pale. Your hands drain of color. Your lips lose their pink. Your fingers and toes turn cool and stiff, because your body has decided they are not worth heating anymore. Think about what that really means. Your own body is drawing a line around your heart, your lungs, your brain, and saying only this gets to stay warm. Everything past that line is on its own. Your fingertips are being sacrificed to keep your core alive. It is a triage happening inside you, right now, every time you feel your hands go cold. But sealing the borders only slows the loss. It does not create new heat. So if the cold keeps pressing, your body escalates. It reaches for its second weapon, and this one you can feel take over your whole body against your will. You start to shake. Shivering is not weakness. Shivering is your muscles being drafted into a war. Your body sends the command to hundreds of muscles to contract and release, fast, uselessly, over and over, not to move you anywhere, but purely to burn fuel and throw off heat as a byproduct. It is you, turning your own body into a furnace by force. And it works, for a while. Hard shivering can multiply your heat production several times over. But there is a cruel catch buried in this. Shivering burns through your fuel fast, and it exhausts the muscles doing it. You cannot shiver forever. It is a sprint, not a marathon. Your body is spending everything it has to buy you time, and it is quietly hoping that somewhere in that time you find warmth. If you do not, the shivering itself will eventually fade. And when a freezing person stops shivering, that is not a sign they are recovering. It is one of the most dangerous signs of all. Hold that thought, because we will come back to why the shivering stopping can be the beginning of the end. Now you might be thinking, fine, but it is not that cold most nights. How fast could this really turn deadly? The honest answer is, faster than almost anyone believes. And to see how fast, we need to talk about the shape of your body, and one invisible enemy that turns a mild night into a lethal one. Here is a strange truth. Two naked people, standing in the same field, in the same air, can lose heat at very different speeds. And the difference comes down to geometry. Your body loses heat through its surface, your skin. Your body makes heat inside its volume, its mass. So the ratio between your surface and your volume decides how fast you cool. A big, round, heavy body has a lot of warmth inside, and relatively little surface to lose it. A tall, thin body has skin stretched over less mass, more leak, less furnace. This is why a lean person often feels the cold faster and harder. It's not in their head. Their geometry is working against them. This is the same reason a small child in cold water is in danger far faster. More surface for their size, less warm mass to hold the line. Their body simply cannot win the math for as long. But geometry is not the real killer tonight. The real killer is something you cannot even see. Wind, wrapped against your warm skin, is a paper-thin layer of air your body has managed to heat. It is your only free insulation, a fragile, invisible coat. On a still night, that layer clings to you and slows your heat loss. But the moment the wind picks up, it strips that warm layer away, again and again. And each time it does, your bare skin has to reheat a brand new layer of cold air. That is what wind chill actually is. It is not that the air is colder. It is that the wind is robbing you, over and over, of the only insulation your naked body could make. So put the pieces together. A calm night at 10 degrees is survivable. Uncomfortable, but survivable for hours. Add a steady wind, and that same night can drop your body into danger in a fraction of the time. Now imagine real cold. In still air at around 30 below, a naked human body can lose the fight in under 2 hours. Add wind, and you are counting in minutes. Not days, not a rugged week of noble suffering. And here is the reframe most people never sit with. Almost every other animal in that same field is completely fine. The deer, the fox, the owl, the mouse under the leaves, they are all naked too, in a sense. So why are they fine and you are dying? What do they have that you gave away? To answer that, we have to go back more than 1,000,000 years, to the strangest decision your ancestors ever made. Look at almost any mammal your size. A wolf, a deer, a big cat. Every one of them is wearing a coat it never takes off. Millions of hairs, trapping a thick, warm layer of air against the skin. That fur is a survival machine. It is insulation that grows itself, repairs itself, and never gets left at home. You had that coat too. Your ancestors were covered in it. And then, somewhere around 1,000,000 or more years ago, on the hot open savannas of Africa, your lineage did something almost no other large mammal has done. It took the coat off. Your ancestors became, over countless generations, the naked ape. Why would any animal give up its insulation? For a long time, this was a real puzzle. The leading answer is that your ancestors did not lose their fur to survive the cold. They lost it to survive the heat. Out on the open savanna in blistering sun, the ability to run and walk for long distances hunting, scavenging, following herds, was worth more than a warm coat. And fur is terrible for one specific thing: getting rid of heat. A furred animal overheats fast during long exertion. So your ancestors traded fur for something else: bare skin and millions of sweat glands. You are quite literally one of the best long-distance overheating machines evolution ever built. You can sweat across your whole body and shed heat while you keep moving, long after a furred predator would have to stop and pant in the shade. That was the deal. That was the trade. Your naked skin was a weapon for the heat. But every trade has a hidden cost, and this one was enormous. The moment the sun went down, or the moment your ancestors ever wandered into a colder land, that same bare skin became a liability. You had won the day and lost the night. You were superb at not overheating, and suddenly hopeless at staying warm. And for a long stretch of prehistory, that should have been a death sentence in any cold place on Earth. So how did a naked, sweating, tropical ape ever leave the warm places and end up living in frozen Europe, in Ice Age winters, in lands where a bare body dies in an afternoon? Because your ancestors did not grow a new coat. They did something far stranger. They started borrowing warmth from the world around them. And the evidence for when they learned each trick is hidden in some truly bizarre places. Here is the first borrowed warmth: fire. Your ancestors could not grow fur back, so they built heat outside their bodies instead. At a site in Israel called Gesher Benot Yaakov, archaeologists have found signs of controlled fire use going back around 800,000 years, from a human ancestor we call Homo erectus. Sit with that number. Nearly 1 million years ago, a creature that was not yet us was already gathering around flame. Fire changed everything. A fire is a furnace you can carry, in a sense. It warms the air around you, it dries you, it holds back the killing cold of the night. For a naked ape, a controlled fire was not a comfort. It was an organ your body did not have. It was the warm coat you refused to grow, sitting outside your skin, fed with wood instead of food. But fire has a limit. Fire stays in one place. You cannot wear a campfire while you walk across a frozen plain. So to truly conquer the cold, your ancestors needed a second invention, one they could carry on their bodies. And the story of when they invented it is one of the strangest detective stories in all of science, because it was solved not by digging up ancient cloth, which almost never survives, but by studying something crawling in human hair. Here is the problem. Clothing rots. Animal skins, plant fibers, the first clothes almost never survive tens of thousands of years in the ground. So for a long time, nobody could say when humans first started wearing clothes. The direct evidence had simply vanished into time. Then a few scientists had a genuinely brilliant idea. If you cannot find the clothes, find the thing that lives in them. Lice. Human lice come in different kinds. One kind lives in the hair on your head. Another kind, the clothing louse, is specialized to live and lay its eggs in clothing, in the fabric held against your skin. That clothing louse could not exist until there were clothes for it to live in. So the moment clothing appeared in human history, a new habitat opened up and lice evolved to fill it. Find out when the clothing louse split off from the head louse, and you find out roughly when clothing was invented. A geneticist named Mark Stoneking, working in Germany, first used this trick in the early 2000s and estimated humans began wearing clothes maybe 100,000 years ago or more. Then a later study led by David Reed at the Florida Museum of Natural History refined the DNA clock and pushed the estimate back to around 170,000 years ago. Think about what that means. We dated the invention of the jacket by reading the family tree of a parasite. The bugs in our clothes became a calendar. And the timing matters enormously, because clothing appears in this story right around the era when modern humans were preparing to walk out of warm Africa and into the colder world beyond. The naked ape was about to enter lands that would kill a bare body, and just in time, it had learned to wear the skins of the animals that were built for the cold. You could not grow fur, so you took theirs. That is the deep truth of your survival. You did not beat the cold with your body. You beat it with borrowed heat. Fire outside your skin. Fur that was never yours, wrapped around you. Shelter you built with your hands. Every warm night you have ever had was a night you outsourced, and it worked so well that you forgot it was ever a problem at all. Buried inside you, there are still a few faint traces of an animal that once had to face the cold on its own. And one of them is hiding right now between your shoulder blades. You are not completely defenseless. Deep in your body, especially around your neck, your collarbones, and between your shoulder blades, you carry a special kind of fat. It is not the soft, pale fat most people think about. It is called brown fat, and it does something remarkable. It burns fuel purely to make heat. No shivering required. Scientists call this non-shivering thermogenesis, and for years, many assumed adult humans barely had any working brown fat at all. That turned out to be wrong. Modern imaging studies have shown that adults do keep active brown fat, and that when people are exposed to cold regularly, over weeks, their bodies can actually recruit more of it and get better at burning it. Your body, given a real cold winter and no easy escape, will quietly try to upgrade its own furnace. This is the ember of your wild past. It is the leftover of an animal that once had to generate its own warmth from the inside. Babies rely on it heavily, because a baby cannot shiver well and cannot ask for a blanket. And a small part of it stays with you your whole life, glowing faintly between your shoulders, ready to help. But here is the humbling truth. It is not enough. Your brown fat can take the edge off. It cannot save you from a real cold night alone and naked. It is a candle where a furnace is needed. It proves your body still remembers the fight, but it also proves your body already knows it cannot win that fight on its own anymore. You are an animal that kept the memory of self-reliance while completely losing the ability. So now we have the full picture of what happens when the borrowed heat is gone. And it is worth walking step by step through exactly how a naked body loses this fight. Because it is nothing like the movies, and the order of events is genuinely surprising. It begins with the cold you already know, the pale skin, the clamped vessels. Then the shivering takes over, hard and violent, your body burning everything it can. And if warmth does not come, your core temperature begins slowly to slip below 37. As it falls into the mid-30s, your thinking changes first. This is the part that catches people off guard. Cold does not just attack your body, it attacks your judgment. Your speech starts to slur. Your movements go clumsy. You get confused. You make bad decisions, sometimes strange ones, and you may not even notice it happening, because the very organ you would use to notice, your brain, is the thing getting cold. Then, somewhere in the low 30s Celsius, the shivering stops. Remember the promise from earlier. This is the moment. It feels, wrongly, like relief. The shaking eases. But the shivering did not stop because you got warmer. It stopped because your muscles are out of fuel and your body is running out of ways to fight. This is deep trouble wearing the mask of calm. Below about 32 degrees Celsius, you are in moderate hypothermia. Confusion deepens. Below 28, it becomes severe. Consciousness slips away. Reflexes fade. Your heart, chilled and struggling, can fall into a fatal rhythm. And there is one last cruel trick the cold sometimes plays. Some people, in the final stages, feel a sudden wave of heat and tear off what few clothes they have. It is called paradoxical undressing, and it is thought to come from the cold-addled brain and the last collapse of those clamped blood vessels. People have been found in the snow having removed their own protection at the exact moment they needed it most. That is the road, and the whole point, the thing worth understanding, is that for a naked human without fire or shelter, that road can be walked in a single night in weather you would call merely cold. Not extreme, not heroic, just a cold night and a body that quietly gave up its coat 1,000,000 years ago. So could you survive naked outside? Now you know the real answer. In the tropics, in still, warm air near 30 degrees, yes, for a long time. In almost anywhere else, on almost any real night on most of this planet, the honest answer is no. Not for long. Not without the borrowed heat you have used your entire life without once thinking about it. And this is where it turns from a survival fact into something about you. Because you do not feel like a fragile animal. You feel capable. You feel like the top of the food chain. And in a way you are, but not because of your body. Your body, on its own, is a tropical creature stranded in a cold world. Everything that makes you a survivor sits outside your skin. The fire, the clothing, the shelter, the knowledge passed down. You are the animal that survives by what it makes and what it shares, not by what it grows. That is the whole human story hidden inside a cold night. So the next time you go camping and you feel that ancient pull, the fire, the trees, the open sky, and some deep part of you whispers, "This is home," be honest with yourself about what you are really seeing. You are not a wild animal returning to the wild. You are a naked tropical ape sitting inside a ring of borrowed warmth it spent 1,000,000 years learning to build. The fire in front of you is not decoration. It is the reason you are alive out there at all. Tonight you will climb into a warm bed and pull a blanket over your body without a single thought. But now you know what that blanket really is. It is the last echo of the oldest trade your species ever made. You gave away your fur to conquer the heat of the day, and ever since, every warm night you have ever had, you have been borrowing your warmth back from the world. You were never truly built for the outside. You just got very, very good at bringing the inside with you. If this made you think, leave a like and subscribe. It helps more than you'd expect.